Alright, so as we make our way over to the Forest of Myth, I think I talked about it in the last episode, but I just want to point out that this is mainly going to be reading. It's kind of a text adventure thing, so forgive me. I have dyslexia, so it'll take me a little bit of time to get through some of it, or it could be totally non-compliant and I just can't either read it or it'll just work perfectly. I don't know. I have what's called surface dyslexia. It's mainly for letters and symbols. Numbers aren't really a problem, but you know, it's basically just reading is the issue. So. Ooh.
It sure is quiet here.
Also
Such
very pretty.
silence bodes ill. There's trouble on the way. I'm certain of it.
You know, a little optimism now and then wouldn't hurt, Vice.
Such cheek.
Beware.
Beware what?
Beware the words.
The words? What do you mean?
Contagious words. Those who dream.
None of this was voice acted in the original game, so this is already awesome.
Those who dream?
Hold a moment. There is a strange new sensation in my mind.
Weiss's voice rose in a quizzical way.
It is not quizzical.
What's going on?
The villager's body shuddered as he slowly opened his eyes.
Perhaps we should start by asking this man.
Who are you?
We heard something happened to this village, so we came to see if we could help.
If you can speak to me, I must have caught you in my dream.
In your dream?
The mayor explained. In the past weeks, a mysterious disease called Death Dream spread across the Forest of Myth. Those who caught it were cursed to fall asleep and live forever within the world of their own dreams. The village mayor had determined the Death Dream was spread from person to person by spoken words, but before he could learn more, the disease took him as well. Weiss started at the mayor, his mouth twitching slightly.
Now see here. Are
He
you
said.
saying that we have been absorbed into your dream?
Well, yes.
Said the
I
mayor.
think you have.
In other words, we've caught the death dream?
Before the mayor could confirm NieR's suspicion, Weiss exploded with rage.
Ridiculous. Preposterous. Completely unfathomable on every conceivable level. I don't even recall falling asleep.
That's just how the death dream works.
Though polite, the mayor was clearly trying to brush aside the book's remarks.
My remarks are not to be brushed aside, fool.
The mayor twisted his mouth into an embarrassed grimace and quickly changed the subject to who NieR had seen and what they had discussed since coming to the village.
Something there must have caused you to enter my dream. A certain conversation, a specific word, something.
NieR and Weiss racked their brains, but could find no easy solution. There were simply too many words to consider, too much random chatter, too many meaningless conversations.
Grimoire Weiss does not engage in meaningless conversations.
The mere suggestion that Weiss chose his words carelessly seemed to sting his pride.
It does not seem to sting my pride, you bloated gasbag of a narrator. It has demolished it utterly.
Irritated, Weiss looked skyward, as if searching for an answer in the heavens.
I was doing no such thing. Just leave me alone already.
The anger created by his harsh words bled over to NieR like a contagion. Wait, said NieR suddenly. Someone say contagion? Yes, I believe so. What of it? Well, the villager told us to watch out for contagious words, right? The mayor leaned forward with renewed interest, pushing a startled Weiss aside in the process. You must have said something, right? Asked the mayor. Some specific combination of words. What was it? It was about dreaming, or something that dreams, or... Oh, what the hell was that? Or what the hell was it? God, I am adding words to this. A sheep? Cried Weiss suddenly, blurting out the first thing that popped into his head. The others stared at him for a moment before slowly shaking their heads. After a few more minutes of thought, NieR's face suddenly lit up. I remember he said, "Those who dream." That's what he said, I'm sure of it. At this, the mayor produced a thick sheaf of paper from his pocket. He flipped through them a few times before he finally nodded his approval at NieR. That sounds right, he said. As a stray sheet of paper fluttered to the ground, my notes also mentioned something about that. I bet it was the last thing you heard before you fell asleep. Mayor shook his head. His worn pencils stubbed tracing lines across a lone piece of paper. For the last month, I've done... A month? Jesus Christ. I've done nothing but study the disease we call the death dream, he said. I mean, I'm the mayor, right? It's my job to protect the people from whatever comes along. But I never expected a couple of outsiders to start entering people's dreams. The mayor paused, a grimace crossing his face. I should probably be taking notes or something. Weiss immediately fired back. I applaud the force of will it takes to research a disease in your dreams, he said, but perhaps we should bend our efforts to escaping this place instead of trying to understand it. The mayor's hand tightened around his pencil, snapping off the tip. I've tried to escape. From the very first moment I realized I was locked inside my own dream, I've been looking for a way out, but I don't think it exists. I mean, this is my dream, right? If there was an exit, I'd know about it. He paused for a moment, his unfocused eyes staring at nothing. My village was beautiful, he said to no one in particular, and it was filled with the most wonderful people you could ever hope to meet. But once this disease took hold, things changed. It's like someone took a sponge and soaked all the color out of our lives. I just want us to be whole again. I want us to be free. And I won't stop trying until it happens. NieR nodded in agreement. Huh. Wait a second. I didn't nod. Look, if we can be of any help, said NieR, just ask. Now hold on, I did not just say that. Silence, cried Weiss. The grimoire looked from NieR to the mayor and back again, his face filling with confidence. Grimoire Weiss, face is always confident, thank you very much. Now see here, Mayor. You told us that nothing can exist in this dream without your knowing of it. But yet you seemed surprised to see us when we first arrived, yes? The mayor slowly raised his head, realization dawning on his face. Oh my god, he said, you're right. You're right. I had no idea you were coming. Human imagination is a limitless engine, said Weiss, and dreams are the fuel. If you can imagine an exit, then it must be so. With your permission, we shall search it out. Thank you, said the mayor. I don't know how I can repay you. Payment is not required. We are as eager as you to be done with this place. The mayor suddenly felt as if he could breathe again. He'd almost forgotten what it was like. Good luck, you two, he called out at the departing forms of NieR and Weiss. We're all counting on you. As NieR slowly faded into the misty forest, the mayor was struck by a sense of déjà vu. I saw this man once before, he thought, but where? NieR's mood darkened as he trudged through the forest. Hours earlier, when the beauty of the place was still a new thing, he'd been confident they'd get in, find the exit, and be home in time for dinner. But the deeper they went, the more the forest closed in around them. The mist made it difficult to see more than a foot in any direction, and moss-covered rocks seemed determined to twist his ankle. More than once he'd been forced to steady himself on a rough bark of a tree, and his hands now left small trails of blood on everything he touched. Additionally, Weiss was proving to be a spectacularly poor traveling companion. Unhindered by either terrain or physical effort, he spent most of the time urging NieR to pick up the pace and grumbling about their slow progress. Finally, after Weiss muttered something about legless turtles being more adept at navigating the environment than NieR, he snapped. "Okay, Weiss, cram it for a second, would you? You don't have to walk." NieR leaned against the tree and tried to stretch the knots from his back. "How can this stupid forest be so big?" he muttered to himself. The moment the words tumbled out from his mouth, a canopy of insects sprang to life. A cacophony. Sorry, I saw it completely cut out the CO, so cacophony of insects sprang to life. Every imaginable form of buzz, click, and hiss roared out at a volume that rattled his teeth. NieR slapped his hand over his ears and screamed to be heard. "Weiss, what's going on?" NieR could see Weiss' mouth moving, but he might as well have been shouting in a tornado. The insects screamed, the forest howled. And then, just as NieR's ears seemed to be ready to tear from his head, go running off for cover, sound diminished. Hesitantly, he removed the hand from his left ear and listened to the creatures of the woods. Zree, zree, zree. Okay, yep, noises. As the insect symphony dimmed another decibel, NieR began to detect patterns in the sound. This isn't random, he thought. It's not just white noise, it's something else. Insects weren't just calling out, they were asking a question. One with it is lacking. 2 with it is ideal. 3 with it is dangerous. What is it? By my pages, it's a riddle. Guess so. I mean, if I feel sort of forced, but maybe it's the key to getting out of this place. Then I leave it to you to answer. Again, 1 with it is lacking. 2 with it is ideal. 3 with it is dangerous. What is it? Answer is a secret. Inwardly furious that Weiss left the task to him, NieR sighed and gave the only answer that made sense. It's a secret, right? Sound of the insects stopped. As suddenly as it began, the forest undergrowth parted before NieR like a rippling wave, opening a new path. "These forest arthropods are making a road for us," said Weiss with glee. Pleased at passing the test, NieR moved on with new intensity. The path offered his body relief from the undergrowth, but gave even greater cheer to his mind. As long as they were on the path, their journey had a purpose. "I guess the forest had accepted us, huh?" said NieR after a bit. Weiss spun around to face his companion. "Do not mistake the will of the forest for some happy pet you can suddenly befriend. We have no idea where this path leads." As Weiss finished speaking... Why does my brain keep saying wife? As Weiss finished speaking, the pair turned a corner and found themselves facing a clear forest. Spring. Smiling, NieR picked up a small rock and sent it skipping across the surface of the water. "Good heavens," said Weiss. His surprise was understandable. Each time the rock struck the surface of the water, a musical note rang out. When the rock finally stopped moving and sank to the bottom of the spring, the ripples it left behind came together to form words. I enter through the window, but I break no glass. When night falls, I vanish. What am I? Light? Absurdly easy, barked Weiss. Now answer it. NieR grit his teeth, tried not to reach out and strangle his companion. He's right, after all. This one is pretty easy. I enter through the window, but I break no glass. When night falls, I vanish. What am I? Sunlight. Plume of water suddenly burst from the spring. Sunlight filtered through the trees and reflected off the plume, creating a shimmering rainbow that spanned the entire horizon. In all my years, said Weiss softly, I have never seen such a sight. Perhaps I have misunderstood the intentions of this place. Hey look, cried NieR, awaking Weiss from his daze. There's a house or something over there. Glancing in that direction of his friend's extended hand, Weiss saw a small cottage nestled among the trees. That's weird, isn't it, Weiss? I mean, who would build a house all the way out here? NieR walked over and pounded on the door. After a minute of solid banging, the door cracked open, and a small man peered out. His body was cloaked from neck to toe in a large black cape, while his face was obscured by mist. Began NieR, but before he could get any further, the cloaked man held up a hand and began speaking. I have 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, and at the end of the night with 3. What am I? NieR tried to ask the cloaked man who he was and what he was doing there, but he simply repeated the question. If we wish to engage this man in conversation, Weiss, it seems we must answer his riddle. Yes, I suppose, said NieR. Well, at least it's an easy one. I have 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, by the end, but end the night with 3. What am I? Okay. A man. Yeah, because it's baby, middle age, and then old man, the third leg being a cane. The mist dissolved from the cloaked figure as he spoke a single word. Correct. With that, the man flung his garment aside, revealing his true identity. I don't want you to fling that garment aside, sir. You're the mayor, cried NieR. The small man slowly shook his head. I am not the mayor, you know. Now listen to my words. Long ago, I saw a version of you that was not yourself. Sorry? What does that mean? It will make sense in time. At present, I simply congratulate you on cracking the seal of the death dream. Now you must go to the person at the forest's entrance. With that, the man turned on his heel and slammed the door behind him. As NieR watched, mist seeped up from the ground and enveloped the cottage, erasing it from existence. When NieR and Weiss returned to the forest entrance, they found the mayor leaning against a tree. As soon as he caught sight of the duo, he sprang to his feet and scrambled over to them. Good gravy, he cried. You made it. You actually made it back. His left hand grasped NieR and pulled it so fiercely it threatened to dislodge it from the socket, while his right seized Weiss by the corner and swung him through the air. Gah! By the heavens, stop shaking me, fool. We have not even told you if we were successful or not. The mayor smiled broadly and shook his head. I'm just happy you're alive. I didn't think I'd ever see you again. NieR withdrew himself from the mayor's eager handshake with a slight smile. We broke the death dream seal, he said. At least, I think we did. The mayor's face beamed as NieR filled him in on the details. When the tale was done, the 3 of them laid down on the forest ground and fell asleep. NieR cocked his head. Okay, hang on a second. This is crazy. Why would we just lay down and go to sleep? Cease your endless prattle and go to sleep, fool. Fighting against the rules of this place is futility itself. My god, I wish I could read properly. NieR and the mayor obediently reclined atop the grassy earth. Have you forgotten, continued Weiss? It is words that control the dream, words that allow us to move from place to place. No matter how unnatural they seem, the words are obsolete. Absolute. Fucking God. Absolute. Therefore, if the words tell us to sleep, then sleep we shall. And once we do, the story will continue. With that, the trio found their eyes growing heavy, their breaths slowing. This is the first time, began the mayor, the first time I have felt tired since I was imprisoned here. Words were cut off by a loud, long yawn, and he remembered nothing more. They might have slept for an hour or a year. When they awoke, things had a slightly more real quality to them. The mist felt thicker, the leaves greener. It was clear that they had awakened from their dream. NieR shook the mayor's shoulder gently. Good news, he said. Think we made it. Oh wow, said the mayor, in an odd voice. We did it. I'm back. He blinked once and then again, as if not quite believing the sight before him. You two have no idea how much this means. I do, you get to live. It's kind of important. The death dream was spreading through our village, and I wanted to... Well, I thought I could figure out how to stop it, but I guess that wasn't the case. I must have caught the disease and became trapped in my own dream. Mayor started to stand, then collapsed back to the earth. He stared at his legs as if trying to remember how they worked, then glanced at NieR and shrugged. Without a word, the young man reached down and pulled the mayor to his feet. Real life may take some getting used to, said the mayor, as a wry smile crossed his lips. You shall relearn in short order, I'm sure, said Weiss. For now, you should return to your home and rest. No, said the mayor, swaying to unsteady feet. No, I can't. Some of the villagers are still trapped in the death dream. I have to save them. The mayor slowly made his way to the divine tree at the center of the village, then bowed his head and prayed silently. This is a holy tree, he explained when the prayer was finished. It's the guardian of our village's history and memories. Superstition will only make our mission harder, muttered Weiss. We should not put our faith in the gods. Mayor shook his head. Not the gods, the words. Legend says that our tree is home to a powerful magic known as a sealed verse. NieR and Weiss could not contain their surprise. It seemed a goal had been found in the most unexpected of places. I say, muttered Weiss, this is certainly a stroke of luck. As the three of them said their goodbyes, NieR mentioned the strange man who had given them the third riddle, and the mysterious word he had left them with. I once saw a vision of you that was not yourself, muttered the mayor. What in the world does that mean? Lost in thought, he stared into space for a long moment. You know, he said softly, this is going to sound odd, but I had a feeling I'd seen you before, too. NieR tried to keep a straight face and failed. The mayor didn't seem to notice. Deja vu, right? Anyway, I figured it's just some kind of illusion created by the death dream. It probably doesn't mean anything. NieR gave the mayor a nod and a smile, but inwardly, his thoughts were racing. There's something wrong about the mayor and his words. What exactly is going on here? The riddle would prove to be the most difficult one of all.
Oh, thank you so much. Now I can finally return to a normal life.
This is one of the most bizarre diseases I have ever encountered.
I know. That's why we have to help the other villagers, no matter what.
Dark execution. Damn. Wow.
For a sealed verse, that didn't take much effort.
Yes, all a touch too easy if you ask me. It's almost as if someone was guiding us to this village.
Don't overthink advice.
Alright. Well, let's go ahead and check in on these people first.
This person must be dreaming too.
It would appear that way, yes.
Can't say I'm very excited to go back there. That dream world sort of creeps me out.
Perhaps you should spend less time complaining and more time getting on with the mission.
Yeah.
I breathe air scented with death, and I resist the urge to laugh, for I know it would sound like the words of a madman. How long have I been in this fresh hell? My box, my prison, is tucked beneath a stairway in a long unused catacomb of some infinite castle. Outside, I hear the sounds of a funeral dirge that plays without end. Light has no place here. Wind is a forgotten friend. I pray for death to come, but he forsakes me. Time passes as eternity slips by in a single tick of the clock. Someone knocks on my prison. Anyone there? I hear an unfamiliar voice say. My savior. I claw at the door of my jail, embedding thick splinters under my ragged nails. I scream for help. I laugh. I sob. Surely this is a product of an addled mind. Surely it cannot be true. Help me, I cry. For the love of all the gods, help me. Impossibly, I hear the sound of a lock being torn out and falling to the floor. As the door slowly creaks open, I have just enough time to see a silver-haired boy in a floating book before the light pours inside. My eyes, accustomed to the blackness, explode with pain, and I am forced to turn away. Who are you? I ask, shaking hands, covering my face. How have you come to this place? I am Grimoire Weiss. This is NieR. Long have we been searching for you. Now come, stand. We shall awaken from this nightmare together. The one known as NieR extends his hand and pulls me from the cell. Though his eyes are slow to adjust to freedom, my ears are keen as ever. Oh, though my eyes are slow to adjust to this freedom, my ears are as keen as ever. And they recognize the staccato sound of heavy rain. I never thought to hear that again, I whisper. Would that this were not such a terrible storm, said Grimoire Weiss. Look at your feet. I force my eyes to open and see water pooling around my ankles and lapping at my skin, at my shins. Fucking Christ. Just really wish I could read properly sometimes. There's so much of it. Yes, and more comes each moment we delay. If we do not make good our escape, we shall all drown in this castle. We know you are weak, but you are our only hope to survive this place. Time, that is long forgotten friend, made itself known again. I nodded my head and swore to save my rescuers no matter the cost. Castle catacombs are a maze, twisting upon themselves like the endless entrails of a giant. I squint down the dim corridors. I proceed north. At the end of the corridor, I find a row of 20 gorgeous canopied beds resting atop a carpet of velvet. All are covered in a thick layer of dust and cobwebs. Searching for the door to the next room, I come upon a shapeless mass of gray matter. It has been shoved against the side of the wall and despite my fever, I think I see the outline of a door just beyond. When I reach out a finger to touch a piece of the mass, it turns to dust and drifts away in the wind. Realization slowly dawns, and I fall to my knees and weep. Corpses. I face a mountain of charred and crumbling corpses. I look from it to the bed and back again, until the horror dawns upon me. Someone has piled these bodies into a tower and set them ablaze. Whether they were alive or dead, I do not know. Insanity will not permit me to consider the proposition further. I make a sound, whether a scream or a laugh, I cannot be certain. Then my mind grants me merciful blackness, and I find myself opening the door and leaving that most terrible of rooms. I squint down the dim corridor. I proceed east, or I proceed south. Let's proceed east, because south I think would just lead us backwards. Squint down the dim corridor. Head north. Squint down the dim corridor. North. At the end of the path, the waters rise to my waist, exhausting my body physically and spiritually. I pray that this is the way out. Eventually, I can stand the sight of the water no longer, and so turn my eyes upward. Imagine my surprise when I see a series of paintings hanging on the faded plaster wall. Each depicts a person in the prime of life, clad in clothing of the highest quality. The styles, however, are strange to me, leading me to believe that these people lived long, long ago. One subject wears an outfit that particularly catches my eye. It is constructed of a thin, breezy cloth and decorated with a motif of flowers and birds. While encircling the figure's waist is a leather belt of the most perfect construction. It is a stunning costume, even by modern standards. As I gaze at the portrait, I am struck by the desire to touch it with my own hands. Yet, as I extend a single finger to the painting, I am gripped by the most unpleasant feeling. Staring closely at the image, I see it bend and wrap into the shape of another figure. Something behind the picture is pointing at me. Is it another person? A fellow inmate trapped in the eternity of this place? I cannot let it pass, and so I seize the portrait with both hands and throw it into the water. The wall is hollow behind the painting, and inside I can just make out a body. Whether or not this is a prisoner, there would be no rescue. The poor soul is long dead. Scraps of clothing lie on the floor around the bones. Only a small amount of fabric has survived, but it features the same delicate design that was depicted on the portrait. I have been admiring a row of corpses, blocked from view by portraits of each victim at their pinnacle. Enough shielding my eyes, I paddled forward through the water, squint down the dim corridor, and proceed south. Squint down the dim corridor, and proceed east. At the end of the path, I find myself in a great hall with only sounds of rain for comfort. The waterlogged red carpet squishes beneath my feet as I approach the center of the room. Once there, I behold a beautiful dining table upon which rests china and silver of the finest construction, as well as the remains of a fantastic feast. As my eyes continue to adjust, I see many chairs surrounding the table, each holding a dinner guest. Noticing movement, I approach the chair at the table's head, but as the truth of the matter dawns on me, I recoil in horror. The host of the feast is a corpse, as were all the invited guests. An army of foul, wriggling insects had made homes in their remains. And this is the movement I saw. The once splendid feast was the now splendid feast was now nothing more than a requiem for the damned. I take a moment to steady my shaking hands, then slowly back away from the table. Desperate to lose sight of the abomination before me, my gaze lands on the chairs upon which the dead were seated. This is a mistake, for the chairs prove to be even more terrible than the feast itself. Each one is covered in a layer of spikes that run from the seat up the back and down the arms. This explains the color of the carpet beneath my feet. I can only pray that the unfortunate diners were dead when the meal began. Oh my god, I'm progressively getting worse. Or if not, it is a simple task to envision the agonized screams that must have sprung forth from their mouths. My mind grasps frantically at the possibility that these souls have committed some terrible crime for which this was punishment. Though in truth, I suspect they had committed no crime at all. There would be no tomorrow for these unfortunates. This was their last supper. Squint down the dim corridor. Proceed west or north? Let's go north. Against all hope, we make it to the front door. Break it down, someone cries, and so I give myself to the effort. In tandem with NieR and Grimoire Weiss, I slam my body against the thick, sturdy door. On the third try, it gives way, and I find myself sprawled out on the ground outside the castle. The storm is in retreat. The clouds above are still dark and foreboding, but to the west, I can see the thin shimmer of sunlight trying to break through. How can I thank you? I cry as tears join the rain on my cheeks. I would surely have died in there. Looking down, I suddenly notice that my dress is in tatters, and sheepishly trying to cover my exposed skin. Your dress? Asks Weiss. Then you are a woman, madam. I am. I proffer the two a smile. I suppose that comes as something of a surprise, seeing as how I exist only in the form of words. I can see that the one known as NieR is disappointed that the torn dress will be given no further description, but he hides it well. With a nod and a shrug, the three of us set forth to our awakening. But behind us, an awakening of another kind is taking place. Black smoke fills the abandoned castle, providing the countless damned souls inside with their final shroud. After a moment, the castle's windows shatter with a mighty roar. A fresh breeze blows through the hall of the corridors, clearing the smoke away for good. As we watch in awe, uncountable black shadows slowly flicker to life, crossing to and fro in front of the broken windows. The castle's dead have awakened to their new life as shades.
You have anything to say about that?
Hopefully there will be no labyrinth next time.
I hear that.
Alright. This might actually end up being a longer video. Hopefully it is. I've been saying that for the past 3 or 4. They've all ended up being short. So we got one more guy to do, and I think that does it for the Forest of Myth.
And another victim. This work certainly is trying.
I figured a book like you would be into all this word stuff, Weiss.
Even I have my exceptions. Now let's be off.
A colony of massive sculptures was visible in the distance, their tall forms scraping against the sky. Weiss and NieR had never seen such a sight, and their eyes widened as they tried to take it in.
Those buildings must be huge if we can see them from this far away. What do you think, Weiss?
As Weiss considered his answer, the sun beat down on them with renewed ferocity.
Perhaps they are some manner of mirage.
He said, Under this heat, a mirage or two would hardly be an unexpected sight. It's weird. Why did they only voice act the first one? Okay. NieR nodded and wiped the sweat off his brow, leaving a trail of sand in its place. He thought he'd never been so thirsty. The ancient road on which they walked was black and cracked with age. Here and there, thin wisps of grass pushed up through the rock's surface, as if defying those who had laid this material down over their home. The heat reflecting from the road made NieR lightheaded. His feet hurting, and he crouched down to rest. I am progressively getting worse. Trying to just get through this. So much reading. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Someone playing a joke on us or what? The complaining had already begun. Weiss tried not to let his eyes roll too much. A joke, he said. No joke. This road leads to the city of art. Perhaps the path itself is simply some manner of grand artistic work. You don't sound very sure of yourself there. Perhaps not, but thinking of it in this way might make it easier for you to bear. NieR glanced at Weiss' grinning face, shook his head, and resumed walking. As time passed, NieR's feet grew more painful, and his throat drier than he'd thought possible. He tried not to look further than the next step ahead, because the bright sunlight made him hesitant to trust his own senses. We are definitely getting closer, said Weiss, in an effort to cheer his companion. Yes, this much is certain. Encouraged, NieR lifted his gaze. Suddenly he stopped walking, choosing instead to stand in the middle of the road with his mouth and eyes wide open and his finger pointing in the distance. Water, he cried. It's water. Water? Asks Weiss. Preposterous. I don't see any water. Over there, just ahead of us. Look, the sun is reflecting off it. Without waiting for a response, NieR sprang to life and bounded toward the site. What in the... There was no water. There was nothing but sand in every direction. NieR closed his eyes and sighed as Weiss floated up behind him and chuckled softly. I believe this is known as a mirage, he said. Many a desert traveler has spoken of such things. NieR shook his head, bewildered. Suddenly, he pointed off in the distance, his eyes wide once more. Wait, there it is. I just missed it. Look, it's right there. NieR sprinted off again, leaving Weiss with not much choice but to follow. After a few minutes of running, NieR came to a halt. I could have sworn it was right here. Confused, he put his hands up to his eyes and rubbed them vigorously. As soon as he stopped, he noticed a blue, shimmering pool of clear water just over the next rise. With a shout, he bounded off in search of it. Chase continued for nearly an hour until an exasperated Weiss finally floated up to NieR and struck him in the face with his cover. Enough, you blithering idiot. Stop this at once. There is no water here. NieR's face clouded. There isn't? There is not. And perhaps next time you will listen to me when I tell you as much. Weiss paused for a moment, then continued speaking in a slightly kinder tone. However, I suppose this mad chase was not altogether wasted. It seems we have arrived in the city of art. NieR looked up. Stretched out before him was rows of impossibly tall sculptures. Their journey was at an end. They're huge, cried NieR, completely forgetting the heat and pain of the past few hours. I've never seen anything so big. Each sculpture was formed from roughly the same shape, a tall rectangle that stretched up toward the sky, but that is where the similarities ended. Most were covered with the with panes of glass that reflected the light in 1,000 directions, while others seemed to be nothing but frames of steel. I think we're talking about cities. Like, that, yeah, that sounds like skyscrapers. Some had tall spires on their tops, while others possessed triangular caps. What kind of city is this? Said NieR. What are the people? Where are the houses? Perhaps the land is intended exclusively for artistic use. The debate continued as they made their way through the city. Miracles of artistry were everywhere. Great iron crates with wheels sat on silent. Miracles of artistry were everywhere. Great iron crates with wheels sat silent on steel rails. So, talking about trains. Beautifully carved works of lights of red, amber, and green dangled on every... Yeah, he's just talking about a city. As they moved away from the massive sculptures, they found a great array of smaller ones. Some were covered in glass or brick, but many were composed of materials they had never encountered. The sheer variety of colors and styles were staggering. Unable to find a theme or purpose to the abstract works around them, NieR and Weiss eventually fell silent. On the outskirts of the city, they discovered 3 sculptures in the shape of humans. NieR uttered a sigh of relief as he approached them. Finally, I was getting tired of modern art. 3 statues were indistinguishable except for a single word chiseled in their right arms. One read Alpha, one read Beta, and the final one read Gamma. As NieR moved to touch the nearest statue, a bird flew from the top of one of the sculptures. Alighting on the statue's soldier, it emitted a brief, beautiful song that took the form of words. Only one form is real. The others are false. The real form will always speak truth. The false ones will only speak lies. With that, the bird departed. As if on cue, the 3 statues shuddered to life, acquiring color and form as they began to breathe. Hey, look at that, said NieR. They're alive. The triplets bowed low before NieR. Please, said Alpha. You have got to get out of this nightmare. I am real. Stop lying, said Beta. He turned to NieR and threw his hands in the air. Alpha's a fake. You know I'm the real one. What a load of crap, said Gamma. Beta is fake. Everyone knows I'm the real one around here. The respective pleas given, the 3 statues returned to their frozen state as silence once again envelops the city. When you consider all of the statements, only one of them could be the real thing, said Weiss. NieR furrowed his eyebrow and considered his answer. Only one form is real, the others are false. The real form will always tell lies, the false ones, or the real form will only tell truths, and the false one will only tell lies. Yeah, so okay, because obviously Gamma was lying with the thing that's saying that everyone knows that I'm the real one, because Beta said that he was the real one, so that was a lie. Anyways, though NieR's voice betrayed a notable lack of confidence, he was relieved to see Weiss nodding at him. Good. His lack of confidence also filled me with lack of confidence. If Alpha were telling the truth, began Weiss, or Beta must... Okay. So it's just telling you how to solve it after it, but okay, whatever. As Weiss finished his explanation, Alpha and Gamma crumbled soundlessly into dust, while Beta sprang to life once more. Congratulations, villager, said Weiss in a cheerful voice. The time to awaken has arrived. Thank you for saving me, cried the villager. He dropped to his knees and bowed his head as low as it could go before an uncomfortable NieR pulled him to his feet. "Why did you have a dream like this?" asked Weiss. "Have you been to this city before?" The villager slowly looked around at the bizarre objects and sculptures that dotted the landscape, then shook his head. "I don't think so. I mean, it's impossible, right? There's no way I could have ever been to a place like this, but at the same time, I feel like I've seen it before." "Déjà vu," muttered NieR, "just like the mayor." The vague sense of unease that struck NieR during the mayor's dream spread once more through his mind.
That was rough.
I am positive I have seen that place before.
Okay, that's
I think it was
enough.
supposed to be
Don't
like
need you getting all weird on me
the
too.
area where the shrine is. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the area where the shrine is with like all the like destroyed city things. So
Okay, there. Now all the villagers can wake up, right?
Yes, if the mayor's assumption was correct. I think I have had enough wordplay to last a lifetime. Thank you very much.
You're telling me. Anyway, let's go see the mayor.
whew, that took a while. And a lot of retakes, which hopefully I managed to edit it properly or the editor got it properly. I don't know. It depends on which one of us is editing it at the time, but oh man, that took a while for me.
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you so much. Here, I have something for you.
Yep, the Faith Blade.
Wow, this looks valuable. I can really have it?
Of course. It's apparently a weapon of some renown, but we have little use for it.
Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you again for everything.
Yeah, because you could have just left after you fixed the mayor and then just continued on with the game and never have gotten the Faith Blade. Alright, friends, we're going to have to call it there. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya.